Before Rome, before empires renamed the world, Africa stood at the center of ancient history. This series follows the overlooked intersections of scripture, empire, and African kingdoms, told with historical discipline and documentary restraint. This is Hidden Scrolls of Africa. In the book of Acts, a man rides home from Jerusalem, reading scripture aloud. Not a priest, not a disciple, not a king. A high official from Africa. And the story treats him as a turning point. But the modern world reads this passage quickly and misses the weight of what it is actually saying. Because this is not only a conversion story, it is a story about Africa already being present, already literate, already connected to the sacred texts long before the world is taught to expect it. This is Hidden Scrolls of Africa, and this is the Ethiopian Eunuch. Acts chapter 8 introduces him with careful detail. He is an Ethiopian, a eunuch, a court official, treasurer to Candace, queen of the Ethiopians. Candace was not a personal name, it was a royal title, like Pharaoh, used for a line of ruling queens in the kingdom south of Egypt, often centered around Meroe. This man was not a traveler with spare time. He was powerful. He controlled wealth. He had access. And, most importantly, he had a scroll. A scroll was expensive, rare, difficult to obtain. To carry one, you needed money and connections. Which raises a question most sermons never ask. How did a high African official obtain a copy of the prophet Isaiah? And why was he reading it as if it mattered personally? Africa was not isolated from the biblical world. Trade routes crossed the Red Sea. Gold, incense, spices, and ivory moved north. Ideas moved with them. And Judaism had deep connections into Africa centuries before this moment. Acts tells us he had come to Jerusalem to worship. That detail matters. It suggests he was already drawn to the God of Israel. He was not hearing the scriptures for the first time. He was already reading them, already seeking, already worshiping. The story does not present Africa as arriving late. It presents Africa as already in the room. He was reading from Isaiah, the passage about the suffering servant, a figure wounded, rejected, silent before accusation. And he asks a piercing question. About whom is the prophet saying this? About himself or someone else? Not a shallow question, a scholar's question. Philip approaches and asks, "Do you understand what you are reading?" The Ethiopian replies with humility and intelligence, "How can I, unless someone guides me?" This is not ignorance. It is the posture of serious study. He invites Philip to sit with him, and there, on a moving chariot along a desert road, scripture is interpreted. Meaning is unlocked. And Africa becomes one of the earliest places where the message takes root. Not through conquest, not through empire, through a scroll. They come upon water. The Ethiopian says, "Look, here is water. What prevents me from being baptized?" It is a simple question, but it carries something profound. Because he was a eunuch, and under older interpretations of the law, eunuchs were often excluded from full assembly. He is asking, in effect, "Do I belong?" The answer, given not in words but in action, is yes. He is baptized. And he goes on his way, rejoicing. Acts does not say he remained in Judea. He returned south, back to Africa. With faith, with scripture, with a story. Acts does not record what happened next, but history leaves clues. African Christianity becomes ancient and foundational. Egypt becomes a center of theology. Ethiopia becomes a guardian of sacred texts, preserving writings long after other regions lost them. Was the Ethiopian eunuch one of the earliest sparks? One of the earliest bridges between Scripture and Africa? A seed carried home, not by a colonizer, but by an African official reading Isaiah on the road. So what was he really reading? A prophecy, yes, but also a mirror, a promise, a doorway. The Ethiopian eunuch is not a side character. He is a sign that Africa was never outside the biblical world. Africa was always near the scrolls, and sometimes Africa carried them. This is Hidden Scrolls of Africa. The scrolls still remember.